Great. Okay. Well, welcome to Coffee with a Purpose, everybody, on this rainy day before Veterans Day. And as announced, our focus today is on veterans. We're hoping to use a bit of the time for folks to share stories about the veterans in their lives and their families, maybe in their own history, and possibly kind of branch from that into what does that mean about patriotism? How does that figure into your life? But we're very happy to have um, Veteran Services Director Paul Carew with us this morning. Um, so we would definitely want to lead off with him. At a minimum, Paul, we need you to tell us about the town's plans for commemorating the day tomorrow and anything else that's on your mind. We do have at least one um, newer person with us today, so I do want to take the time for introductions. Folks, we could just go around real quick and introduce ourselves. Paul?
Good morning, Paul Carew, Director of Veteran Services for the town of Natick. I've been in this role now for 15 years. Unfortunately, I'm soon to be leaving this role unless the town makes me an offer. I'm going to be leaving this role March 1st. So this will be emotional roller coaster Veterans Day for me. I love Veterans Day. It's the day you say Happy Veterans Day. You know. Make the cross and so forth. I do, but today Veterans Day is Happy Veterans Day, and that's what I really love. You go up to your veterans in your community, and I always think of the veterans from the past on Veterans Day, Pearl Harbor Day, Memorial Day. But this year, like I say, it's an emotional roller coaster for me. It is my last hurrah, my last
Yeah.
Veterans Day speech
All
in
right.
front of the library. That's the parade kicks off at 9 a.m. behind the police and fire. It'll be my last parade. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Let's get through the introductions, Paul, and then we can come back
oh,
and
I'm
hear
sorry.
more
Yeah.
about that. Yep. Sorry. Martin.
Yeah, Martin Kessel, Coffee with a Purpose regular, town meeting member.
Great. Thanks. Bill.
Hi, Coffee with a Purpose regular, uh, Community Preservation Committee member, and I'm active in church and Pegan Cove steward.
Great. Brian. Brian, you're on mute. Or Brian, you got to come off mute. Yeah,
Hey,
there
there
you
we
go.
go.
Yeah.
Good morning. I'm a usual member here, been around for a long time, working with Pat, and appreciate hearing from everybody. Thank you.
Thanks. Tom.
Good morning. I'm a native town resident for about 35 years now, former town meeting member. And my wife and I's anniversary was yesterday.
Oh,
So
very
thank
cool. All right.
you.
And Lane, we're doing this all for you, Lane. But you got to come off mute. There you go.
Yeah. Thanks, Lane McDonough, first time. Just hoping you guys come up with a better acronym for this thing, but looking forward to being regular now.
Uh, hey, you go to a church that's 300 and whatever years old. We're into tradition here, so just be quiet. Lane goes to the church that Bill and Sarah and I go to, among others. So, Sally.
Good morning. I enjoy CWAP. My brother Pat and a few other folks at the Common Street got Coffee with a Purpose started, but oh my gosh, it's beautiful momentum by Martin and Doug and Sarah and all the rest of you. And I really am looking forward to honoring today. I was married to a Marine, and today's the Marine Corps birthday also.
Hmm.
And so I'm looking forward to hearing more from everybody. Thank you.
Thanks, Sally. Rick?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, welcome, Lane. Glad you find some amusement in this already. That's good. Many of us do. It's a lighthearted group, but with a serious purpose, and people who underestimate just how important it is to all of us. Anyway, Rick Devereaux, and I'm a town meeting member and an Natick volunteer. Don't know if you know what Natick is, but if you hang around these things long enough, you'll hear about it.
Thanks, Rick. Cindy.
Good morning. Hi, Lane. I'm Cindy Bates. I live in the center of Natick for 5 years now. I'm a trail steward and I sing with Sound and Spirit. And I pick up pretty much everywhere I walk for Keep Natick Beautiful. And I believe that CWAP originally was Coffee with Pat, something like that. Is that right, Sally? And then when Pat sort of left the leadership, then or somewhere along the line, they wanted to keep the P, so they came up with a cool acronym, a different whatever. Sally can explain.
All right. Thanks for that bit of history. Brinley.
Good morning.
Hey.
On Brian's request, I've sat down and turned my camera on for a minute.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't think that's ever happened, Brinley.
Oh my
Good
God.
morning, guys.
That's the first time we've seen you.
Hi. Brinley Vickers. I am also a town meeting member and a Coffee with a Purpose regular. I also have lots of family member history in the service, and I'm always so grateful for everyone's service and thankful for today. Thanks.
Thanks, Brinley. Cool. So perhaps others will join us, filter in, but Paul, I'll turn it back to you to fill in any more details of your impending retirement, but again, also to tell us what's going on these days with veteran services.
Well, the big thing with veteran services going on right now is my pending retirement. I plan on retiring in March 1st. If they get the stuff together and start the hiring process, December 1st with a posting. I've been doing this now since March 28, 2010. I've been working with veterans now for 44 years on a national level. I just passionate about it. I came home needing help. I eventually got the help through the VA. I'm a 100% service connected disabled veteran through the VA, and by helping other veterans achieve that disability rating, really helps my mental health also. So I served in the Marine Corps, as most of you know. First 2 years active duty, Paris Island, Vietnam, Thailand, Japan, the Philippines. I traveled all over. And came back to the States, and I was stationed in North Carolina, where I really improved my golf game on the golf courses in North Carolina. My CO, I was in the battalion headquarters, said, "Crew, you have golf clubs?" I said, "Yes, sir." "Go home, take my car." Listen to this. "Take my car, go home and pick them up." He says, "Oh, okay. How long do I have?" 3 days. I said, "Okay, good." So he wasn't giving me a vacation. He was giving me 3 days to get my golf clubs. But I spent 10 years in the active reserves, both with the Marine Corps, and I was a port security officer in Boston with the Coast Guard for my last few years. So I get around a bit. My biggest story about the Coast Guard is 4 years active reserves port security officer. I never went on a ship.
Really?
Never even stepped foot on a ship. So yeah, not one of our own ships. I stepped on the ships doing inspections and so forth, safety and so forth. Yeah, but yeah, now I've pretty much dedicated my life to helping veterans. Suicide prevention is my biggest cause. Alcohol and drug addiction is second on my list. And it's just when I leave here, I already have an office in one of our veterans homes here in Natick on Lake Atitch with the Ambus. So I'm going to start doing that in about a month, holding Saturday morning office hours at the Ambus. I might even do coffee with a purpose from the Ambus.
Oh man. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so I'm looking forward again with mixed emotions. My wife's got 6 or 7 more years of work, and so I'm gonna do as much New England traveling as I can. When she can get a week off, we'll both go when she can. I'll go by myself. So I'm looking forward to it. My favorite part of this whole country is northern Maine, Arcadia. So I don't have to travel too far to be happy.
Hmm. Cool. Good. Is everything in good shape for tomorrow's commemorations or?
Everything is in great shape for tomorrow's Veterans Day celebration. And I'd love to be able to say celebration in the same sentence with a veterans holiday.
Hmm.
Because that's what it is. It's a celebration to thank each and every veteran that ever served this country, to thank their families for putting up with us while we served. It's just my favorite veterans holiday is Veterans Day because you can say happy in front of it.
Hmm.
And happy Veterans Day to all of you.
Yeah. Very good.
And
Good.
it's going to kick off at a parade at 9 a.m. behind the police and fire station. It's going to form up at 8:30. Uh, the service will be in front of the library, 10 a.m. sharp. Not a real long ceremony, but our public servants do have to say their pieces. And my speeches are going to be really lengthy. It's going to be kind of like a thanks for the memory speech. Uh, but it's immediately following Memorial Day services. I'm putting on hosting a luncheon catered by TJ's, and you all are welcome right here in my building at 11:30 to 1:30.
Good to know. Yeah. And
Come on down,
speaking,
come on down, have a little pasta, sandwich, finger sandwich, so forth.
yeah. Speaking of meals, how did the veterans breakfast go? Was that at Kennedy?
Yeah, we had I love the week before Veterans Day because we spent most of the week in the classrooms. A couple of days, uh, group of us veterans, we go into the kindergarten and first grade classroom throughout the town, and we read veterans books, which we purchase. I purchase, and we just read 2 books to each classroom. And this year was tough. It was tough with the government shutdown because we usually have half our readers are usually soldiers, young soldiers, and older soldiers, officers. This year we had nobody from active duty because government shutdown means just that they can't step out of bounds and jump into a activity like this. So you think it's outside their normal work, but no, they couldn't do it.
Hmm.
But classroom readings were excellent. The kids are cute as hell. First grade and kindergarten, Kennedy Junior High School is always one of my highlights of the year. We go to Kennedy, we split up in the table with anywhere from 5 to 8 students at each table, and we just tell our story quickly, and then we answer questions for about 20 minutes with each table of students, and it is, like I said, but a lot of fun.
Yeah. Good. Good. I'm glad that went off, and hopefully be another tradition that continues even after your time is done. So.
Well, I told the superintendent of schools, she's a sweetheart. She was there, and I'm talking to her. I says, one thing I want you to remember, she said, this is my last year in this capacity, in this role. She says, yeah, that's too bad. I says, I'm going to tell your human resources director not to lose my name because I'd like to come back next year.
Good, good. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for all of that. Who'd
Thank
like
you.
to share some stories with us about veterans in your lives? Don't all be bashful. Hey, Cindy, go ahead. Yeah. Hey, gotta come off mute. There you go.
So I'm going to go first because it's pretty minimal. I'm going to start with current. I have a cousin whose son is in the Coast Guard, and he's in the, I think it is second year of a 3-year contract, and he is posted in Burlington, Vermont. So he is in the Coast Guard for Lake Champlain.
Oh,
Um, I have a cousin whose husband is in the National Guard, and he was posted twice to Iraq. That was very difficult for him and for his family. And I have my dad served in the Air Force, but that was not a very happy time. And his uncle was a surgeon in World War II, and he was on a ship that was sunk by American um, forces. That was kind of, yeah, I think that was probably his worst memory of World War II was dealing with, you know, the tragedy of a mistake, but then also all of the people that needed to be attended to. And I had my grandmother's um, brother-in-law was also a surgeon, and he went to the Pacific. Both of these were in the Pacific. Um, and he had 4 children before the war, no, 3, and then 2 more after the war. I never really talked to him about the war. And then my father's father um, was somehow involved with training. It's all very vague. So that's my story.
yeah. Yeah, with the World War II era vets, there are very few of them around, so it's really becoming just kind of oral oral history. I was fortunate. My dad, who was in World War II Army, much later in life, he was a writer by profession, a technical writer, marketing, that kind of stuff. But he got the bug for doing kind of home style memoirs, and so he was one of 3 brothers that served, and he got all of them to help him put together the short memoirs of their military time. Um, that he then, published in a little book. I mean, not published, but printed out and gave various copies to family members. So I should go get some of them. But writing things down is so helpful to try to remember some of these stories years later. Tom, you got your hand up. You want to share something?
Hey, yeah, I got a bunch.
Oh, good, good.
My my ex-father-in-law was World War II. He landed in Europe after D-Day, and he got as far as the German border before the war was over. But he had some very interesting stories. But I will share that with you. But anyway, my son-in-law served 20 years in the Navy, and he retired about 2 years ago. And every time he came back from a little tour, I'd say, uh, "Tell me what you did," and he would. Uh, so he chased pirates in Somalia.
Oh,
Yeah, on the coast of Somalia. He was air traffic control for some in Afghanistan. He chased drug runners. He One time he went into the Black Sea and got buzzed by the Russians. He said they were so low you could see the pilot, things like that. And then my son, my youngest son, did 2 tours in Afghanistan and without a scratch, 2 tours in Afghanistan. But in his second tour, he was in Kandahar and he stepped in a hole and screwed up his back. And he's had problems with his back ever since.
Hmm.
His first tour, he got shot at, but the uh, it was he was going up a hill, and unfortunately, the bullets uh, went over his head, and he never got hit. But I used to get a kick out of my my sister-in-law used to tell the kids, "Daddy's on a camping trip."
It's some kind of camping. Was he able to
Yeah,
get disability support, I hope, for stepping in
yeah,
the hole? That's good.
yeah. But
Yeah.
he still needs another operation.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, so that's my little brief
Wow.
I want to tell you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Who's
Well, I
next? You
have
want to
to say,
spend?
I'll
Yeah.
go. So Tom, your thing about daddy's going camping struck a bell with me because my dad was in World War II in the Battle of the Bulge and spent the winter in a sleeping bag in the freezing Ardennes forest.
Whoa, boy.
And when I was a child, I wanted to go camping in the worst way. And I would bug my dad, Dad, can we go camping? And Dad would say, We'll see. And it took me a while to understand that we'll see was code for no. And so eventually, when I got a little older, he said to me, I spent a winter in a sleeping bag in the Ardennes forest, and I am never camping again. And so he loved the outdoors, he loved hiking, but he would not camp. And, of course, as I got older, I totally came to understand why he did not want to camp. But as a kid, little kid, like, I want to camp, I want to camp. So he did active duty, obviously, during World War II. My mom was in the WACs, although they were not married at the time. They didn't marry till after the war, but my mom was in the WACs and she served down in Georgia doing, she was an English major. She did writing for various publications of, Stars and Stripes. I don't remember the name of what she worked on, but that's what she did. And then my dad was in the reserves um, until the early 70s. He was in the reserves and he used to get it eventually, he'd get sent for his 2 week. Well, he'd go into the army base and they used to be in South Boston every week and do stuff in there. And sometimes I'd have to go with him and sit at a big steel table and do my homework while he did his army stuff. Um, and then his 2 weeks of reserve duty. And eventually he came to be sent to Fort Leavenworth to teach logistics in the Army War College. And he used to take great delight in telling people, well, I got to go to Leavenworth and try to convince people he was going to the federal prison. So anyway,
Hmm.
that's my folks. And then I think everybody knows our oldest son, Will, was in the army, served a tour in Iraq and a tour in Afghanistan. The Afghanistan thing, he was stationed way up near the border with Pakistan, up in the Hindu Kush Mountains. And the description he gave, the roads sound like Indiana Jones, of like these little teeny bridges over these gorges and a road that was so narrow along the side of the mountain. There's a cliff going up on one side and going down on the other. Some of that sounded pretty scary, and he did go off one time when the special forces guys were there and they needed a couple extra people. He went out with them, but he doesn't talk about it a lot, but he has come home pretty whole and solid. So we're very grateful for that. So anyway, let somebody else take a turn.
Anybody else? Well, somebody else. Oh, go ahead, Sydney. You got to come off mute again.
I realized when somebody started talking about the Navy that I neglected to mention my cousin's husband, Chip Wicker, who came and talked to us here
Right.
at
Yes.
Coffee with Purpose,
Right.
and was the captain of three. I think he had command of two ships. And when somebody was talking about going after pirates and drug runners, I mean, he did all that. He has great stories.
Yeah, I was thinking about him when Don was saying, so what did you do? And then he would tell us. And I'm pretty sure Chip said as
Oh
part
yeah,
of his talk,
yeah.
no, I can't tell you. Some of that's still
And then I
classified.
also remembered, and I have a book on my dad's side. I think it's his great great grandfather was a surgeon in the Civil War, and his some of my cousins on that side transcribed the letters between him and his wife.
Wow.
And it's this gigantic book. It's about 500 pages long, and they left out a lot. It's called My Dear Wife, and just really interesting how, I mean, the correspondence between husband and wife, and that's just doesn't happen anymore. And
Mhm.
also the frequency with which women would join their husbands, I guess if they were, officers or in that, but even so, I think that to help with cooking and just helping in the camps. So she was several times going down there and then going back home to Lynn, Massachusetts.
Yeah, yeah. My dad, besides World War II, was then in Korean War, but he was stationed in Germany at that time. And my mother, who they were married by that time, went over basically to keep house. But Tom and then Sally.
Yeah. I thought of some more stories.
Good. That's the
My
point of today.
my roommate my senior year, I was living with three other guys in a little apartment for my senior year in college, and one of the guys was a Korean War vet, and he tells us, I didn't see this, but what happened was he was standing there talking to somebody, and one of his teachers came up to him and put his hands on his shoulder, like, hi there. And his automatic reaction was he flipped them. And that after the guy got up, the teacher got up and he goes, Korea veteran? And he says, yes. Oh, never mind. It's okay.
Yeah.
And my former brother-in-law spent 20 years in the Navy, and he spent 6 months in Nam on a ship, and he was a mechanic. And he said the worst part of the whole thing was you got to know the pilots, and when they didn't come back, that was a real bummer.
Yeah.
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 And,
Yeah.
and the last thing is my brother-in-law spent a tour in Vietnam, and when you ask him what was the first concert you ever went to, and he goes, Bob Hope.
Wow. That's a notable one. Wow.
Yeah.
Sally.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this sort of brings a lot of memories back. When I married my husband, it was a second marriage for both of us, and his wife had passed and left him with 4 children. So when he and I married, I had 2 children and he had 4. So we did a Brady Bunch arrangement. But the time that we met each other, we were both teaching English. I was teaching at the high school and he was teaching at the community college. And one of the things that his military life had been his other life. So he was kind of quiet. He was a Korean War veteran and landed at Incheon, and the drama of that, and it was, I think, I'm thinking the book was The Coldest Winter. Am I remembering that correctly about the the landing and in Korea. And he was he lost 9 of his companions, his comrades in that landing, and blessedly lived to go on. But I'm going to say that it's a little bit typical of all that intrigue and drama that they don't talk about it much later. And or maybe some veterans do. They have a lot more stories to tell. But as time went on, and through our marriage of about 45 years, um, the kids and I would begin to hear more. And what was Fred was in the Marines again. This is before Sally, but his last couple of years in the Marines were with in Indonesia, training he was sent by the Marine Corps to help Indonesia and train for military. And he was so disillusioned with Vietnam that I think that tainted a lot of his feelings about the military. And so it was touching living with a person who was very, for 21 years in the military with a Purple Heart, but was feeling so disillusioned about, our place in Vietnam. And so we had a lot of empathy for that. And I'll kind of segue now to another more recent loving guy, my nephew Brett Conaway. And our life, and Pat, his father, Pat Conaway, is in California now, enjoying a couple of weeks of relaxation and being with friends and family in California. And so our lives here in Natick have been, I'm so touched by the fact that maybe it was whoever mentioned that the two tours to Iraq were very, very toxic. And that's what Brett had experienced. Among other successes, and being in the National Guard and lots of other good qualities, but we lost him to suicide. So that's one of the things that our lives are real meaningful in trying to figure out how the life of a veteran, of a warrior, men or women, experience, when they come back. And there's so much they could tell, but so much they can't. So I'm just have such empathy and love and respect for all of our veterans.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Sally. And I think Paulie already shared this with a full group, but he had said that his and the doc's work on their Saturday morning supporting veterans. Hang on a second, sorry, our phone is ringing. Will continue after his retirement. That work is so important.
And Doug, we're gonna go even more. We're gonna use the Amvest post here in Natick, Sally, and we're gonna go more into suicide education, awareness, prevention. Because I lost a couple this year, and it's awful when someone shows an expert doesn't see all the signs.
Mm-hmm.
And it really, and I knew Brett very well, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
Yes,
so sad.
very important.
God bless him.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A few years ago, the horrific number of was it 22 a day, was being, widely publicized in a campaign to bring awareness to this. Paul, do you know, or does anyone else know, has any progress been made? Is the number lower, or are we still losing just as many? Or
Unfortunately, uh, the numbers haven't lowered.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, the suicides have gone from your 22-year-old to your 29-year-old to your 60 and above veterans. Your older veterans. And the reason that is because your older veterans are the Vietnam veterans. They're over 70, and they're the ones who've been trying to deal with the stuff from Vietnam all their lives, and the negativity from their friends, their families, and now 60 years later, they're taking their own lives.
Tragic.
It is tragic, and I'm going to continue that mission, Sally. When I move my office down to Natick Invest, I'm going to have Saturday morning delegated just for suicide education, awareness, prevention.
Good.
And like I told Pat, uh, I know it's tough, it's hard. I've lost a few this year. It's hard, but I had Pat speak at one of my events here, and I think you were there, Sally. But he couldn't go on very long,
No.
obviously.
Understandable.
Understandable.
Yeah.
But I'll be reaching out again,
Yeah. It seems too like after the horrific way we treated our Vietnam era veterans when they returned home, it seemed like the population, learned a lesson, and we refound our respect for the soldiers and the amazing sacrifices and their dedication. In today's world, with the things that this administration is doing, trying to send the military in various places, yet another horrible consequences, I think that it might eventually start to tarnish that image, through no fault of the soldiers themselves. But gosh, you wonder how people are going to start reacting.
You're 100% right, Doug, and I'm seeing that through the veterans I work with, I'm dealing with, and you know, they're sick to their stomach over what's going on. The deployments. There's 70 different countries. I'm gonna send troops in. I'm exaggerating, but we're gonna send troops in all these countries, battle ready, battle ready. So what's that tell you? Battle ready to go to war. Whether it's 50 countries, whether it's 10 countries, whether it's two countries, we're already in a half dozen to a dozen countries, fully prepared for war. Not just in the countries, but fully prepared for war.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom. Yeah. And
I got the memories keep coming back. I got
yeah.
three Vietnam stories.
Oh boy.
Yeah. My brother-in-law, when he came back, um, he was dating my sister-in-law before he went to NAM and afterwards. And when he came back, they were going to a movie, and they were walking through the parking lot, and all of a sudden, uh, a helicopter coming over. And the next thing you know, he was behind a bush.
Yeah.
Just the sound of that helicopter sent him back to Nam, and he was hiding under a bush.
Mm-hmm.
Then he kind of snapped out of it.
Yeah.
And the second thing, this one is I think is pretty funny. One of my classmates, he was in the Navy, in Nam, and he was on one of those river boats, I guess.
Yeah.
And he was going down the Mekong, and there was a firefight in front of him. So and some of the Marines were like escaping into the water. So they were pulling guys in, and he put his hand out and he pulls the guy in. It was a classmate.
Really?
He put, Joe, Ralph, what are you doing here? You know, that kind of thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Your story, Tom, about your college friend that
Get you in the
jumped.
bush. Yeah.
Well, not the guy
Oh.
behind the bush, the guy with putting your hand on his shoulder does
Yeah.
remind me that my aunt used to tell about when my dad came home from World War II and, moved back into the family home for a while. And my aunt would go to wake him up and say, "Hey, breakfast is ready." And she said she would have to open the door really quick and tell him breakfast was ready and slam the door before a boot came flying at high velocity straight at her head. Because same thing, this it just startled reflex. He would, grab the nearest thing and just fling it at her. And, clearly, a similar kind of just conditioned response to a threat. And, you know,
Yeah.
it's just one of those stories that kind of just came out eventually that is like, huh, interesting. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right now, I only remember two, so I'll be quiet.
Okay. I wanted to go back to one thing Paul was saying in his opening remarks that he enjoys Veterans Day because it's one where you can say Happy Veterans Day as opposed to the whole focus of Memorial Day. But it reminds me of an incident right here in Natick that I'm both embarrassed about and appreciative of related to our son. So um, in Memorial Day 2005 was Will's first deployment or his deployment to Afghanistan. And Memorial Day that particular year happened to fall on his birthday. He was 20 years old, deployed in Afghanistan. And me, in my amazing innocence or cluelessness about the difference between the somber tone of Memorial Day observances and Veterans Day, asked Polly, I don't know if you remember this, but I'm pretty sure I probably came to you first to say, "Hey, I've got my camcorder here. My son's deployed. By any chance, could we get the American Legion band to play Happy Birthday, the song, and maybe somebody wants to sing, and I will make a recording of this and we'll send it to our son, and maybe it'll cheer him up a bit." And everybody complied. I mean, 100% opposite the somber tone of Memorial Day, and yet I still think it did serve a purpose.
It did. It really did.
So I kind of alternately fondly remember it and cringingly remember it for getting the tone of the two holidays wrong. But
Uh,
Hey,
I think
Doug, I saw Lane interested in speaking. Maybe we should
oh
hear from him.
yeah.
Thanks. Oh, so my dad was a veteran. He was in the Navy during the Korean conflict, and he and I guess his brother both joined the military for the GI Bill. I guess he did one year or one semester, and then then joined the Navy. He had a pretty he had a pretty sweet deployment. He was on a destroyer in the Mediterranean and the Caribbean, I think, for his full 4 years. And what he did, he played basketball, and they played the teams from Italy and Spain and Greece or whatever. It was sort of like you know reaching out to the allies or whatever. He really enjoyed his time in the Navy, for obvious reasons. And then when he got older, he really appreciated the VA hospitals. He would go to the VA hospital all the time, and he thought he had great uh, service there. And then he volunteered there for a while. And then my uncle, who joined the army, was unfortunately killed in a parachuting accident at Fort Bragg while he was
Oh,
training. Yeah. And that's so I was named after him. So he was James Jerome, and he had said to my dad at one point that their mother's maiden name was Lane, and he thought that Lane would be a cool first name. So I'm named Lane Jerome McDonough, named after my uncle, whom I never met.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
but then, so my nephew Reed is a lieutenant, fighter pilot in the Navy. He's on the USS Ford, which I think is going to the Caribbean, although like a couple of weeks ago it was still in the Mediterranean, according to my brother. But the um, the proudest moment of my dad a year before he died was when my nephew got his commission at Penn State. He was ROTC at Penn State, and so that's my dad. Not a very good picture, but
Yeah. Yeah.
that's my dad was able to be there when he got his commission from Penn State, and so now he's had two tours now on the Ford. So
Wow.
wow.
Hmm.
Thank you for sharing that story, Lane. I've known you a long time and I never heard that before. So thank you.
I, our son was a paratrooper and trained and stationed at Fort Bragg when he was stateside, and he enjoyed jumping so much he became a jump master, to train folks. I went actually down to Fort Benning, which is where he was actually doing his jump training, um, and to see one of his jumps, his training jumps, but I was there on business anyway, and they it was the jump. I think it got scrubbed for weather or something.
Well, it was also a night jump, right?
Well, no, initially I was going to be able to observe a day jump
Oh,
that got
okay.
scrubbed for weather, but then I was still there on business, and one of their training jumps has to be a night jump, so I went down to observe a night jump. Well, so soldiers jumping at night. I mean, you saw the lights of the plane. And then eventually you saw soldiers coming out of the woods. I just like, and I never saw him. I just saw other, but it's still, it was all, parents and relatives and stuff were all sitting on bleachers watching this in the middle of the night. It was kind of surreal, but
When he was doing his training, of course, in training, they don't have a lot of time. They can't call home very much, but he called very briefly and he said, you know, Mom, I think after his first jump, he called and he said, Mom, I think that was the craziest thing I ever did. And I said, well, if you ever did anything crazier than jumping out of a perfectly good airplane, I do not want to know about it. But speaking of service-related disabilities, he did have a jump where one of the straps on his pack got twisted or something, and he wrenched his shoulder, and it continued to bother him off and on throughout the rest of his time in the service. And we and several other people really urged him to get that documented into his record before he left the service because we said, you're a young guy now, 23 years old, doing, you've done 5 years, and he was leaving active duty, did some reserve duty after that. But we said, when you get to be our age and the aches and pains kick in, if you can document that this was a service related injury, that's going to help you get.
yeah, yeah, it doesn't have to be right from the start. My dad, just from being near artillery in World War II, had some hearing loss that didn't particularly bother him until he got much older. And so many decades after the end of his service, he applied for and received a disability benefit that paid for those expensive hearing aids.
Yeah, my dad was also had hearing loss from World War II from having shells go off very close to him, and he appreciated it only because it got him a discount on his as a disabled veteran, got him a break on his real estate taxes.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's as as most of you know, that's what I do for a living. I help the veterans get their disabilities anywhere from 10% to 100%. So, and that's important, like you say, tax tax taxes. Me, I don't have to pay a tax on with the registered RMV. I don't pay a penny. Uh, Excise taxes on I don't pay that because I'm 100% damaged.
Yeah. Yeah.
I use the word damaged.
Yeah. Brinley, you've got your hand up.
Um, yeah. Well, I don't actually talk about it that much in my life anymore, but it's really wonderful to hear everyone's stories and think about all of the emotions and the journeys. Um, it was a big part of my childhood having family in the military. Greg came in and he was like, "Oh my gosh, my dad was in the Navy, and he had two uncles in the Navy. One was a career Navy man, spent his whole life in the Navy, and on my mom's side, her brother, my uncle, served for years and then came back and became a neurologist and a neurosurgeon. And my probably one of the most interesting stories on my mom's side of the family is my grandmother and grandfather had the last part of their journey was a magic theater that they ran for years and years. But right before they had the magic theater, they actually ran a dance club in Jacksonville, Florida, specifically for servicemen, and especially for all of the servicemen getting ready to deploy. And she used to tell me lots of stories of how important it was for them to provide entertainment and smiles and laughter and journey, just conversation and camaraderie for them at home before they all left. And they were some pretty amazing stories. Also on my mom's side, we lost a relative on D-Day. And listening to those stories was quite a thing. And on my dad's side, it felt like everybody was in the service until my dad's generation. So my dad and his brothers and sister didn't serve, and none of my siblings or cousins have served. But everybody, it seemed like everybody before that served. So my dad's dad, my grandfather served in World War II, and actually stayed abroad for many years in service. When he came back, he struggled probably the most of everybody that served, and everybody else of his generation and his like his father came back and became a reverend. Judge, one of my other, he was my great uncle. He came back and became a judge. My great grandfather came back and became a judge, a state judge and a state senator, actually, for North Carolina. And so for 1 year, I guess it was more than that, but for 1 year in particular, my seventh grade year, I lived in the house with my grandmother and my great grandmother. And it was a grand home on the Intercoastal Waterway in North Carolina that had a huge attic, this great big, large walk-in attic. And I kind of claimed it as my hangout space. And so I started going through the trunks and everything that was up there and found my great grandfather's army blanket, and his military coat with all of his actual jacket with all of his pins and medals and everything on it. And I asked if I could have them, and they gave them to me. And I still have the blanket today and put it on my bed. The wool blanket, green, man. It's just like it's truly the most incredible blanket I've had for my whole life. It's really thin and starting to get worn, but it's unbelievably warm. And I think many times about the stories that it could tell if it could talk. And the jacket, I wore the jacket because I was thin back there and could back then. I wore the jacket for a bunch of years. Now I have it. I would show it to you, but now I have it all preserved and saved. But it was quite a thing to think about their service and what it meant to our country. You know, it's just because so much changed in the 60s. There was so much demonstration. You know, you mentioned it earlier about the change, and then to see it come back. When I was in college, my first long-term boyfriend, who I was really a part of his family. His father was a master gunnery sergeant, and I lived in North Carolina, and so they were still based at Camp Lejeune. So I spent a lot of time on base. I spent a lot of time in commissaries and went to tons and tons of celebrations and memorials and services, and listened to him tell stories. And I do think of all of the stories I heard, listening to him talk about being a master gunnery sergeant and what that job was. It's still haunting today. It's such a, I mean, I'm still amazed that we ask people to do this job. And I'm still in awe that people volunteer to sign up and do this job. And it really is a big deal. And I'm always very happy to say Happy Veterans Day, and thank you to everyone who serves.
Thank you, Brimley. And that story about Master Gunny Sergeant, that's a very prestigious rank in the Marine Corps. Very few of them. Sergeant Majors equal E9, E9, but Master Gunny Sergeants is a very specialized MOS.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Brimley.
Brinley, you talk about going through the trunks and so forth. You know, all these stories trigger memories of other stories. So a couple things. We have Doug's dad's trunk from World War II, right?
Yeah.
That you know, that he had, that's, you know, got his name and rank stenciled on it and the whole bit. Doug took that trunk to Boy Scout summer camp when he was a boy. All of our sons took that trunk to Boy Scout summer camp. It is now in pretty bad shape, but our grandson is now a Cub Scout, and I'm thinking of trying to have that trunk refurbished enough to be usable so that someday he can take it to summer camp. And the other thing, so I mentioned that my mom was in the wax, and she was, I believe, at Fort Benning, and you know, a lot of people from different units came through, and she collected unit patches from all kinds of different army units, and they were just in a shoebox in a drawer when I was a child, and I would take them out and look at them. They're very colorful and interesting, and I was fascinated with them. And so eventually I said, well, I have them in a shoebox in a drawer. So I took them and had them framed up. Doug is actually bringing one. There are two of them. There's so many of them. This is one of them. And it's just all these different unit patches that my mom collected. And I, you know, was very fascinated with them. So
That is really cool, Sarah.
and there's another whole thing identical to this with other patches. So
I've really enjoyed the stories today. Unfortunately, I don't really have a lot of stories, but I appreciated what Lane did and brought out
Oh yeah,
photo of
thank
his
you.
dad.
I know you don't have it for me,
And
but,
so I brought out a photo that's in my
yeah,
bureau of my father. This is the same. This was taken at my grandmother's house, where he and my mother were married shortly before he deployed in the Second World War. So this was in probably the summer of '42. He was already in uniform, and then he ended up he was over 30, as was his younger brother. So he ended up a desk officer on an air base in southeast England for from '43 until the end of the war. And then because he'd been on a desk, not on active sort of military duty, he ended up serving another year in Nuremberg during the trials, and doing that. But he never told any stories about it, and I didn't think to ask. Just briefly, I think I realize now how much I missed by not being in organized activities as a child. I grew up in a town that was so small. We didn't have anything. We didn't have Boy Scouts. We didn't have team sports. We just didn't, you had to go to another town to do that. And so I realized that I don't order my life in the same way, and I didn't learn a lot of sort of handy skills that a lot of my peers have. And so I missed that. My father was very ordered, though not in any disciplinary way. I'll show you a quick photo of him. I think there's a cigarette in his hand here because there always was. I don't know if you can see that or not, but he's sitting on the ground against a stone wall in Durham, New Hampshire, where my mother was from. She, during the war, when after he left, which was shortly after they were married in August of 42, yeah, she was served in a hospital that was converted from, I guess part of the hospital in Durham at that time, the school hospital during the course of the war as a nurse. But they did leave a trunk, which I never knew anything about, that I went through and found loads of pictures, but nothing from his service years, unfortunately. I do have maybe I'll come see Paul sometime and ask him to help me identify what the various sort of military, the few military medals or whatever that I have from his service years. But I just thank you all for sharing your stories. And always look forward to this. And I have a hard time imagining veteran services here without Paul. And I hope we continue to see him around and in an unofficial capacity. And I hope he brings some AMVETS to Coffee with a Purpose.
Yeah, so do I. Martin.
I'll jump in. I don't have a very dramatic story, but I guess the story starts with my grandfather who immigrated to this country in 1910. So when he was drafted in World War I, it couldn't have been that much longer. I think he barely had time to learn English, and then was sent back to Europe, a different part of Europe at least, to drive a supply truck somewhere in World War I. And then my father was at Texas Tech studying electrical engineering, and was drafted to the Navy, and they put him repairing radar equipment. I suppose it could have been communication equipment, but I kind of remember radar. And he never liked, the story he told was not a very positive one. He never really liked the discipline and the rigidness of the Navy. He was always like just wanting to get out as soon as he could. But on the other hand, he did make a scrapbook of his time there, which is now yellow and falling apart. And it has some nostalgia, some interesting stuff there that we can look back on that kind of told what it was like to be in that ship. He was on a destroyer escort, I believe, but he never quite got onto the right ship. Somehow he was on a ship looking for the ship he was supposed to be on. But fortunately, he never saw any action. It was a rather quiet trip. So he did a lot of reading. That's the thing that impressed me. He had a list of books that he read at sea. And the final entry in this scrapbook was I guess there was a daily newspaper. Of course, they didn't have internet or anything. And the last entry in the newspaper is Japan surrenders. So that piece of history is in that scrapbook.
Thank God that people did keep scrapbooks and mementos. Yeah. My dad's time in World War II, or at least as he relates it afterwards, I would say he didn't necessarily enjoy it. I mean, he had funny stories to tell now and then, but he was kind of the mindset that the bureaucracy of the military might, lead them to make kind of ridiculous decisions. He was not approving, honestly, of Will joining the military, but people join for a multitude of reasons and have a multitude of experiences. And in Will's case, he has always been very bright, was not particularly motivated through primary school and right into high school. He enlisted before graduating high school. It was relatively soon after 9/11 and probably
that
played into it.
Played into
But
it.
Man, did the military focus him. He he enjoyed. We still remember his first letter home from boot camp on a like
Letter.
little,
It
yeah,
was this big.
yeah, saying that he just loved basic training. It was, as he described it, it was like Boy Scout summer camp on crack. He just took to it like a duck to water. Was top of his class in basic training. Did airborne after that. Came out of the military, got straight A's at UMass, went to school in the GI plan, got mentioned by the chancellor at graduation. He's been like laser focused in his life ever since. It's a formative experience, I guess, positive or negative, some for folks. But
It's funny, Doug, when I started Northeastern, when I came home and started Northeastern, knowing that I had the GI Bill to pay for my education, it was great. I had three members of my family, alumni of Northeastern. I said, so this is pissa, getting top education for nothing, plus a stipend.
yep,
And I did it, and I continued it through my graduate work. And I earned it, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the government gave me anything. I did earn it, but I'm very thankful to the GI Bill.
yeah, yeah, it was huge for him. Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
Brian? Is that a raised
What?
hand from Brian?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's your cursor. Never mind.
Sorry. Yeah.
So if you have had a chance, uh, go down to the Natick Common and walk through there and look at the 150 posters.
Mm,
Uh, I guarantee you're going to see Ricky Ball. I saw your son David has a beautiful poster on the Common. So I go through and I see the names that I recognize, and some of them World War II veterans I used to meet with, have coffee with. They're gone now, but I do see names like Ricky's son David, who was a pilot, and on a plane. It's really great. So I know you're out of town now, Ricky, but if you have a chance, stop by the Common and
yeah.
see David.
Ricky, we're not hearing you. Although it doesn't say you're on mute, but it seems like you're on mute. So
Yeah.
You've been awfully quiet.
yeah, try toggling it one more time. Uh, Try it again now. Yeah.
Right now, Ricky.
Oh,
Oops. Nope.
Still be
click it one more time and then speak. Yeah, now say something. Oh gosh.
Still can't hear you.
Yeah, maybe
Your
if you can
microphone.
call Jay, your tech support. Yeah, go get Jay. Well, while we're waiting for that, Brinley, you had your hand up again.
Yeah, I was thinking about what Polly said about the recognition that's downtown right now and the signs, because Greg and I were talking about that and looking forward to walking through and seeing all that. I wonder if maybe before or even after you're done, Paul, if maybe we could have a session talking about monuments and memorials and what it means. I have been very, very moved by so many of them. Going to visit so many of them in my life.
I would.
The wall in DC, and it just seems like it would be a great session for us to talk about specifically memorials, the Holocaust Memorial in Boston. There's just so many of them, and it seems like it would be a great subject.
I think that's a terrific idea. I visited a ton of the memorials from the Holocaust, the memorials in Washington, D.C., Silver Spring. I visit memorials all over the East Coast, and you know what? It's heartwarming to go down there and put my hand on the Vietnam Wall. It's heartwarming. The Korean Memorial, the Women Veterans Memorial, the Nurses Memorial, the Dogs Memorial. It's just heartwarming to see all these memorials uh, in Washington and in Boston. People don't realize.
Yeah.
In Natick, I'm thankful I was able to help build Memorial Park, which is Moran Park in downtown Natick by the T station. I helped build that, raising tens of thousands of dollars to build that. And you know what? If anybody asks me my proudest accomplishment in my job, in my lifetime in Natick, it would be Moran Park.
Well, and
So
also,
maybe we can make that happen then.
yeah, I like that
Absolutely.
idea. We'll definitely add that into the list. And no less important than the larger memorials are these dozens of veteran square dedications all through Natick. And Paul, I know you've been instrumental in making a lot of those noting the Natick families that have been involved in the military. It reminds me too, if people, recollect back to the town meeting, and one of the CPC projects that got approved was the preservation of the Bunker Hill muster roll. And what was the statistic on the number of Natick people
It's
involved in that
crazy.
in terms of like a percentage of the town?
It's something like the population of Natick was around 500 people at the time of the revolution, and something like 200 people from Natick served in the revolution in some capacity. It just mind-boggling. But for anybody who hasn't heard of this thing that Doug is mentioning is there was a muster roll, a list of the men from Natick who served in the Battle of Bunker Hill. It was 42 guys from Natick went to the Battle of Bunker Hill, and this document belonged to I believe, the commander of that unit, and it lived in his attic for a long time until like his great granddaughter or somebody, the house stayed in the family, and when she passed away, her attorney found this thing, and I may have the number of generations wrong, but the gist of the story is one of his descendants, when she passed away and the attorney was settling the estate, he found this document and he donated it to the Natick Historical Society. And apparently, it is the only copy in existence, given that the state of Massachusetts put together in the late 1800s a list of all the soldiers from from the Revolution, and these guys weren't on it. And so these are 42 men that helped in the founding of our country who haven't received any kind of notice or recognition. And so one of the projects that came before the Community Preservation Committee, and we recommended to town meeting, and town meeting unanimously voted to go forward with this project, was to preserve this document through a top tier document preservation group, and make a digital version of it available for researchers all over the place. So I just thought that was really cool. You don't see town meeting doing something unanimous very often, unless it's like, you know, vote to dissolve or something.
Sarah, that was the easiest thing ever. I mean, that was great. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to seeing it.
Yeah. Ricky, I saw you had your hand up again. Hopefully you fixed out that. Yeah, you just got to click it one more time to come off mute and then try again. Oh, click it one more time. There you go. Try now speaking. Ah, no, still not.
Still not working.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, maybe Jay's asleep. I think is that what we're doing? Charades?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Jay's taking a nap. Oh well.
Oh well.
Don't
Well,
touch too hard. You have to do a very light
well,
touch.
no,
No,
it's
something. She's off mute, but it's not.
I think the microphone is turned down somehow, but
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh well. Hmm. Well, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate all of the stories people have been sharing, and I know there's hundreds or thousands more that are in people's minds or in their family histories, and maybe in a trunk in their attic someplace, waiting to be discovered. But it's
So let's not forget tomorrow is Happy Veterans Day, and I am doing a luncheon here in my building. We're doing a parade, kicking off at 9 a.m. Downtown, and we're doing a service in front of the library at 10 a.m. So
yeah,
if you're available in town, go down and listen to the speakers
yeah.
at the library from
Definitely.
the Spilker's office on down to the select board here and there. It'll be a good event. Not too long of speeches, and uh, and you're all welcome. You're all welcome and encouraged to come back from here from 11:30 to 1:30 for a buffet lunch put on by TJ Spirits,
Hmm.
hosted by my office in the firefighters union.
Where did you say it was going to be?
Senior Center,
At the senior center. Yeah. Yeah.
117 East Central Street.
Good. And speaking of the senior center, next week our speaker is going to be Donna. How do you pronounce her last name? Tarts?
He's my next door neighbor. Donna.
Yeah, she's the director of the Council on Aging, and she is going to
Yep.
be our speaker
Donna.
next week. That's all right. That's okay. She's going to be with us next week, Paul.
All
But
right. Her
I just
door
wanted
is
to give
closed.
a shout
Her
out
door
to
is
her.
closed.
We're looking forward to meeting her and getting to know her a little bit better.
Yeah, she's very nice.
Yeah.
I don't deal much with interaction on our work, but she's very helpful. She's a licensed clinical social worker, so she's got some good background.
Hmm. Cool. Good.
Paul,
Brinley, do you have
uh,
announcements for us? Yeah.
sure, a little bit, but I'd also like to say, Paul, I'm also grateful that you guys go to Kennedy School every year for the veterans breakfast with the kids. I really wish that we could do that at more schools. My son really enjoyed it for the years that he was there, and I really think it's so meaningful, and so I'm grateful to whoever needs to be told that to. I'm really grateful for that partnership with Kennedy Middle School, that you guys all go do that, the veterans breakfast
And
every year.
you know what, Brimley? I told the superintendent of schools in her human resource officer yesterday, says, I'm retiring, but I want to remain on the list, so call me next year to read.
Mhm.
Yeah, I really do think it's wonderful that you do that. I
I love it, Brimley.
uh
My favorite.
I think the kids love it too, right? Just so you know, they come home and they tell their parents stories and they talk about it amongst themselves, and it's truly a meaningful and important thing that you guys do.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If you ever come down to my office, there's hand colored posters, pictures all over my office, my lobby, from the kids at the school.
Well, cool. Very cool.
Yep.
The only announcements I have is tonight is a school committee meeting, and they're gonna talk about Johnson property again and um, potentials for how they see there might be needs or uses for the schools using Johnson property in the moving forward. And on Wednesday, there's a select board meeting. There's always meetings going on. Check your calendar.
Right. Yeah. Cool. Well, I mean, that's how
Oh,
we stay patriotic. We might not be putting on a military uniform, but we're staying involved in town and
I think
national affairs.
it was Tip O'Neill who said it best. Government starts in your home city or town.
Yeah. 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 Good. All right. I'm gonna stop the recording at this point.